Begin today the Gemara on Daf Kuf Yud Amud Aleph, 4 lines down from the top of the Amud. The Gemara here continues from a subject that I spoke about before. Omar Rave, Hanaisi Isha, a person that marries a wife, Tzarich Sheyivdoik Ba'achea. He has to inspect the brothers to see who the brothers are. Shenemar, as we see, the pasuk says, Vayikach Arnes Elisheva, Bas Aminodov, Achois Nachshon. So it says that she was the daughter of Aminadov, but then it also adds that she's the brother of Nachshon. When it says that she's the daughter of Aminadov, don't I know that she's the sister of Nachshon? Because it already says that Nachshon is the son of Aminadov. Why does the pasuk add that she's also the sister of Nachshon? From here we learn that when one marries a wife, he should look at the brothers, who the brothers are. And the reason is because the children that a person has will be like the wife's brothers. As the Gemara here brings, Tana, we learned in the Braise, Roiv Banim Doimim Lacheyaim. Most children are similar in nature to the brothers of the mother. The Mefarshim say that the Gemara says Roiv, not all, because of course there's exceptions to this. For example, Yaakov was not like his mother's brother, Lavan. So there are exceptions, but nevertheless, Roiv, Banim are similar to Acheyaim. Some say that it's only Banim, because Isha Mazras Tchila, and therefore that's the Banim, and others say that it refers to all children that are similar in most cases to Acheyaim, the mother's brothers. Now the Gemara goes back to something that was mentioned before. The Gemara was discussing whether Mishpacha, family, of a mother is also considered to be family, and it brought up the story of Pesel Micha. When Micha put a pesel of Avodah, and he had a person which was actually a grandson of Moshe Rabbeinu, Yehonasan ben Gershon ben Menashe, that came to be a kohen for Avodah, to serve Avodah. So over there the pasuk says that Vayisuru, that the people came there. Pasuk there, the actual lashon of the pasuk is different than we have it here in the Gemara. Vayisuru Sham, they came there. This is the people of Shevet Dan that sent shluchim to go and find for them a place where their nachla, where their inheritance was. And they found this grandson of Moshe Rabbeinu there in that place by Micha. And they asked him, Mi aviyacha haloim, who brought you here? What are you doing with this? What do you have here? So they said 3 different expressions to him, and each one was saying to him that being a grandson of Moshe Rabbeinu, he should not be here serving Avodah Zarah. Amrulai, they said to him, Lav mi Moshe kasis, aren't you a grandson of Moshe? By Moshe it says, Al tikrav haloim. Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, do not come close here. That's the expression they said to him, Mi aviyacha haloim, who brought you here to this Avodah Zarah? Again they said to him, Lav mi Moshe kasis, are you not a grandson of Moshe d'chsiv bei, Maza biyadecha? Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, what is this in your hands? When Moshe Rabbeinu said that the Yidden will not believe in him. So this is also a remez. They were saying to the grandson of Moshe Rabbeinu, why don't you believe in the Eibishter? Lav mi Moshe kasis. Aren't you a grandson of Moshe d'chsiv bei va'ata poi amoid imodi? That you should stand here with me. And after all of this, tiyase kayin l'avodah zarah, you become a kayin to serve avodah zarah. This was what the people asked Gershom, or rather Yehonasan ben Gershom ben Moshe. So he answered them and explained, this is what I have accepted from my grandfather. A person should be ready to hire himself to work for Avodah Zarah, but he shouldn't be in a situation where he has to take money from people. And therefore he said, I'm only here working for Avodah Zarah because I'm making money. I need money. Now he made a mistake because he thought this means Avodah Zarah mamish, that he should be ready even to be hired to work for Avodah Zarah literally. But that's not true. That's not what his grandfather Moshe Rabbeinu said. El Avodah Zarah means Avodah Shazara Loi, that a person should be ready to do work which is foreign or which is below his dignity. And even that, for the purpose of making an income for yourself and not having to take from others, a person should be ready to do. That's what Avodah Zarah in this case means. Rav Kahana, as Rav said to Rav Kahana, you should be ready to skin a dead carcass, even in the street, doing a very dirty job, and take a pay for this, and don't say that I'm a great person of a great stature, and this is disgraceful for me, because again the point is to do work and to make an income yourself, even if it's disgraceful, and not to get supported by someone else. That's the example of an Aveda which is Zara Loi. The Gemara goes on to say about this individual, Yohainison ben Gershon ben Moshe, that Kivin Shara David, years later, David HaMelech saw, Shemamin Chaviv Alav B'Yoser, that he really likes money. So Allah Eitzris, he appointed him to be the one in charge of his treasures. Shenema, as it says in the Pasuk, Shvuel ben Gershon ben Menashe Noged Allah Eitzris, that he was in charge on the treasures. Now here it names him as Shvuel, even though before it said his name was Yohainison. Shvuel Shemai, v'hala Yohainison Shemai. His name was not Shvuel, his name was Yohainison. Rabbi Yechanan Sheshav Lakel B'chol Levi. After this, when he was hired to take care of the treasures of David HaMelech, and he had enough money, he returned, he did tshuva. He returned to the Eibusher with all his heart. So that's the story with the continuation of the story that the Gemara brought before. The Rashba brings what it says in Yerushalmi and in other places about Yohainison ben Gershon ben Moshe, that later on, after David HaMelech passed away and he was not working anymore as the one in charge of the treasures, he went back to Avodah Zarah. But on the other hand, though, the Rashbam brings that even when he was working for Avodah Zarah, it's not that he really believed in Avodah Zarah, he didn't believe in it at all, but he was just doing it, as the Gemara says, because he wanted money. People would bring things, food, whatever it was for Avodah Zarah, and he didn't really believe in it. He would take it for himself. Okay, going back now to what it said in the Mishnah, V'habonim es ha'av, that a son yarshins a father. Minalon, from where do we know? The Chsiv, the Pasuk says, Ishki yamuz v'gaimer, a person dies, and the Pasuk goes on to say, if he doesn't have a son, then v'avartimus nachlasa lebitay, you pass over the inheritance to the daughter. So we see that you give it to the daughter because there's no son. Ben, but if there is a son, Ben kaidim. The son comes first. Amalei Rav Papa Abaye, so Rav Papa asks Abaye, maybe we could say that Ike Ben Lirais. If there's a son, so then the son will inherit. And then Lirais Ben, that is, the son inherits. Ike Bas, if a person has a daughter, Tiris Bas, then the daughter is the one that inherits the father. Ike Ben Ubas, however, if there is a son and a daughter, so the Pasuk talks about a case where there is only a son or only a daughter. But if there's both a son and a daughter, loy hai lirais v'loy hai lirais, maybe then not the son and not the daughter will inherit their father. So Abai asks him back, how could Rav Papa say this? Ve'elo man lirais. So who then will yarshin the father if it's not the son or the daughter? Otu bar kasha de masa lirais. Are we going to say that the ruler of the city, he should be the one that should inherit this person that died? Why? How can we say that the Pasuk is saying that only if there's only a son or only a daughter, then they inherit, and if not, none of them inherit? That can't be. So Rav Papa explains what his question was. Rather, this is what my question was. Ike ben ubas, if there's both a son and a daughter, then loyhai lires kule, then one, the son does not yarshin all himself, and loyhai lires kule, and the daughter does not yarshin at all himself. Rather, they both will yarshin everything together. In other words, why are we saying that when there's a son, then the son comes before the daughter, and the son yarshins himself, and the daughter gets nothing, and only if there's no son, then the daughter yarshins. Maybe if there's a son and a daughter, then they both yarshin together. The pasuk here is saying that if there's a son alone, then the son yarshins. If there's a daughter alone, then she yarshins. But if there's both, maybe they both yarshin. A son does not come before the daughter. Amalei Abaye, so Abaye answered, you can't say that, because ve'itztirich kra lashminon. Do we need a pasuk to say that heicha de lesle elachad bra, that if there's only a son, if a person has only a son, le'sinu l'kula nichse, that son alone will yarshin his father entirely? It's obvious if there's only a son that he yarshins. You can't say that the pasuk here is saying that if a person has a son, then the son yarshins. Obviously, if there's a son, who else is going to yarshin? He's going to yarshin it all himself. If the pasuk is coming to say that when there's a son alone, he yarshins, and then if there's a daughter alone, she yarshins, and then if there's both together, then they yarshin together, and there's no advantage that the son has over the daughter, then the pasuk actually should have simply said that if a person dies, who yarshins him, it shouldn't say not son, not daughter, rather it should say zera, his children, his descendants, they yarshin him. The fact that it says first the son and then the daughter, it's coming to say that the son yarshins before the daughter. But the Gemara still asks in this Vidilme Hakamashmalam, maybe it does have to come and teach me the bas nami bas yirushi, that even a daughter, it can't just simply say that the zera, the children yarshin, but it has to spell out the daughter that she yarshins to tell me that a daughter b'chlal will inherit from her father, because usually when the Torah speaks about the union of Yerusha, it always speaks about the son. It doesn't ever speak about a daughter. So maybe over here, or it says in the Torah when it speaks about Yerusha, it speaks about son or zera. But over here the Torah has to say that if there's no sons, that the daughter yarshins. That's why it spells out the daughter separately. Says the Gemara, no, hahu, the fact that there's a concept of a Yerusha by a daughter, that we learn out from another pasuk, Mibuchol bas yireshes nachla nafka, that a daughter gets a nachla. So there's another pasuk that says that there's a concept of Yerusha by a daughter. So over here, what the pasuk is coming to say when it says first the ben and then the bas, is to say that the ben, the son, yarshins before the daughter. When there is a son, then the son yarshins and the daughter does not yarshin. Ravacha bar Yaakov Amar mehocha. Ravacha bar Yaakov says we learn out that the son will yarshin and not the daughter when there is a son. We learn it out from here. The pasuk says, and this is when the benois tzalafchad, the daughters of tzalafchad, were complaining that they will not had any inheritance, and they said, Lami yigad Hashem avinu mitoch mishpachtoi, why should our father be left out from his family? Ki ein li ben, he has no son, and therefore we will not yarshin. So what we see here is Taimed ein li ben, that it's only because there's no son, so therefore there's no Yerusha. Ha yesh li ben, but if there is a son, ben kaidim, then the son comes first. That's what the Bnei Tzalafchad was saying, that if there's a son, then the son would get. If there's no son, so then why shouldn't we get now? Says the Gemara, how could you learn from what the Bnei Tzalafchad were complaining? V'dilma Bnei Tzalafchad u dekamen and hachi. Maybe the daughters of Tzalafchad were saying this and they were arguing this point. But then, after Moshe Rabbeinu gets the answer of the Eibishter, how the Yerusha works, I could say, Nitna Torah v'nischat halacha, that maybe now the Eibishter tells him the halacha, the new Torah of how the Yerusha works, and the halacha is differently than what they were arguing. So there's no source from what they were saying. So therefore, the best answer is, as we said before, we learn it from the lashon of the pasuk of Van Einloi, then it says bas, that teaches us that the ben comes for the bas. Ravina says mehacha. I learned it out from what it says in the pasuk Hakarev Elov, the one that's a closer relative, and we learned already before. The Gemara says we understand from these words Hakarev Karev Kaidim, the one that's a closer relative, yarshins first, and therefore a son is closer to a father than the daughter. So if there is a son, the son yarshins and not the daughter. So the Gemara explains why is that. Why are you saying that a son is closer than a daughter? As was mentioned already before, that there are two things that we see that a son takes the place of the father, both regarding the mitzvah of Yid, and that is to marry an Amma Ivriya, that the father could marry, or the son in his place could marry the Amma Ivriya, and also regarding Zdei Chuzah, when it comes to dedicating to Hekdesh a property of inheritance, if the son is the one that redeems it, then it goes back to the father in Yovel. Not like when someone else redeems it, that it goes to the Kainim when Yovel comes. So we see over here that the son is like the father. So these are two things that we find by a son and not by a daughter. So that shows that the son is closer to the father than the daughter. Says the Gemara, none of these are a raya. First of all, Yod, when it comes to the mitzvah of Yod, bas laf bas yodehi. It's not something that's even possible by a girl, by the daughter. It's only physically possible by the son, that he can marry the Ami Ivriya. So there's no raya that shows an advantage that the son has over a daughter. Stei Achuzanami, when it comes also to the fact that the Stei Achuzah, we see that the son is closer to the father. We learn it out, the fact that a son is closer to the father regarding this, we learn out from this itself, and that is, as mentioned already before in the Gemara, because the Tana said, Klum yesh yubum ela b'mokim she'ein ben. The Gemara discusses before and says that maybe we should say that this halacha of Zdei Achuzah applies to a brother and not to the son. And the reason we say that it applies to the son and not to the brother is because even though there is a closeness, the fact that he's a relative, the brother, to this person because there's a mitzvah of yibum that applies to the brother. But in a place where there's a son, there is no yibum. So the fact that the son patas from yibum shows that the son is closer to the father than the brother. And now that svara of klum yesh yibum ela b'mokim she'ein ben, that same exact closeness of the son to the father applies to a daughter as well. When a person has a daughter, she patters a brother of Yibum. So we see that regarding Stei Achuz, it's all based on this point that the son patters the brother of Yibum, and that same point applies to the sister, or to the daughter that patters from Yibum. So if so, we don't find in any source any reason to say that a son is closer to a father than a daughter. So therefore you can't learn out from Hakav Elav, Hakav Kaidim. So again, the Gemara says the best shot is like we said before. Or now the Gemara does suggest another source to say that a son yarshins before a daughter. I can learn from here. The pasuk says, by a person that owns an Eved Kanani, the pasuk says that if he dies, then the son will inherit this Eved Kanani. He does not go free. So it says, that's a son that inherits and not the daughter. So here we see another place where if there's a son, then the son inherits, not a daughter. Elo meyata, so the Gemara asks on this, but if that's the case, when it says in the pasuk, Laman yirbu yemechem v'mei v'nechem, after the mitzvah of mezuzah, it says that Hashem will give you long life, and it mentions also life for your sons. It says b'nechem, hachanami, are you going to say here as well, b'nechem v'loi b'nei seichem? That b'nechem means your sons and not your daughters? Why would we say that it's only long life for the sons and not for the daughters? So we see that we have to say that the lashon of b'nechem doesn't necessarily mean only sons. It could mean also the children of a person, daughters as well. Answers the Gemara, there's no question from there, bracha shani. In a case where the pasuk is giving a bracha, over there it's different, over there it's understood that it's going for the sons and for the daughters. Therefore it doesn't have to say zarachem, it's understood that it's going on both. But when it comes to Yerusha, over there, the pasuk should have said zarachem. The fact that it says b'nechem, that tells me that it's only the sons that yarshin when there are sons, and only when there's no sons, then a daughter yarshins. Going back to the Mishnah continued and said v'ha'achim mina'av noichlin u'manchilin v'chulo. When there are brothers, these are paternal brothers, they share the same father. So then noichlin manchilin, brothers yarshin one from another if there's no sons or daughters. Says the Gemara, how do we know that it's only brothers that share the same father and not brothers that share the same mother? Minalam, where do we know this from? Rabbi says, Asya, Achva, Mibnei Yaakov. We learn out the term brother, Achin, that it says here, and the term Achin that it says by Yaakov. Mala halom, just like there in the pasuk when it speaks about the brothers by Yaakov, Mina'av, it's speaking about brothers from the father. The pasuk that it says there is, Shnei Masa Avadecho Achim Anachnu B'nei Ish Echad V'Goymer. B'nei Ish Echad means we're the son of the same father. It's extra words, and that's saying that we're talking about the Shvatim, which have the same father, Yaakov. So just like that's the case there, by the brothers, the Shvatim, so to here, it's Mina'av V'lei Mina'aim, Avka Mina'av V'lei Mina'aim. Here as well, Achin means brothers that are with the same father, and not brothers from the same mother necessarily. So now the Gemara asks, why do we need this Rasha? V'lamali. Why are we learning it out from here? The Gemara already in the previous daf brought that we learn out mi mishpachtoi v'yarashoi saksiv. The pasuk says that you yarshin if it's from your family, and from that we learned mishpachas afkrui mishpacha. Only a mishpacha family when it's the same fathers, then same father that is. That's a mishpacha. Mishpachas ein a krui mishpacha. But a family that's because of the mother, that's not family at all. And the Gemara there brought the pasuk because it says the mishpachaisam beis avaisam. So we see mishpacha is the father. So the Gemara says, and Hanami, you're right. That's the source when it comes to Yerusha. The source is from the term mishpacha, that it's only a relation through the father. This that we brought here from Rabbe to say that brothers refers only to brothers, paternal brothers, and not maternal brothers. Linyan yibum itmar. That was learned regarding the halacha of Yibum, when the pasuk says, Ki yeshu achim yachtov, that a brother, if the person passes away without children, then the brother marries the wife, and that's the mitzvah of Yibum. What brother is this? That the brother there is a brother from the father. Regarding that mitzvah of Yibum, we learn from Achim that it says by Bnei Yaakov to say that it's only the brother that they share the same father.